I'm attorney William Moore. My criminal defense firm handles a significant amount of violent crime defenses every year. This is a niche area for criminal defense attorneys. If I had to say one thing about this area of practice, it would be the defense of self-defense and whether or not you put faith into your client's representations in certain circumstances and whether or not they're a good candidate to testify on their own behalf. This becomes more challenging than you might think. Otherwise, this is really a factual type of defense practice. It involves more of the art in pure trial work from a defense standpoint and persuasion and explanation of facts. Anyway, types of battery offenses. Let's get the basics down or an overview. I'm not going to go over all of them, but assault. People get assault and battery confused all the time. Think of assault as an aggressive act made against a victim, although you don't make any contact. One way you can describe it would be an attempted battery. If you throw a punch and miss, you've committed simple assault. It's a misdemeanor. Issues as to the apparent ability to carry out a threat come into play, but we're just going through an overview right now. Aggravated assault. You go from a misdemeanor to a felony if the assault that you're alleged to have committed is aggravated. Aggravated assaults can occur when the aggressive act is made while the assailant's holding a weapon. Remember, we're not talking about any contact here, so injuries don't come into play. So injuries don't have any effect on enhancing or aggravating this type of violent offense. Like I said, assault can be viewed as an attempted battery where somebody commits a violent act yet unsuccessfully. And unsuccessful means no contact at all. If there's any contact made, the assault gets turned into a battery. And Florida has several types of battery offenses. Sometimes these battery crimes are classified based on the status of the victim. Misdemeanor battery, simple battery, intentionally striking another person against their will, causing some form of bodily harm, just not too much harm. Felony battery can occur when you injure the person just a little too much. You cause a permanent disfigurement. That's going to get you into a felony courtroom. Misdemeanor or simple battery is a misdemeanor, is punishable by under a year in the county jail maximum, while a felony battery charge is going to be punishable by up to 5 years. And possibly more depending on the enhancements. Felony battery or aggravated battery requires great bodily injury. Remember that. Permanent disfigurement or disability. Now, what happens when there's some type of family relationship with whom the violence occurred, or the aggressive act, or the violent act? Well, then you're going to find yourself in a domestic violence courtroom with a special domestic violence judge being prosecuted by a special unit prosecutors that do nothing but work on crimes of battery, violent crimes involving family members. The state attorney's office is the department that makes the decision as to whether or not a violent act is going to be filed under the traditional statutes or if the offense is going to be kicked into domestic battery courtrooms and divisions. Ultimately, all that is required is the violent act and the family relationship. Domestic violence battery, domestic domestic battery is a misdemeanor, contrary to popular belief. Even though there's an enhancement when there's a family member involved in the violent act, you're still in the misdemeanor courtroom. However, sentences for people convicted are mandatory sentences. Get into issues of batterers intervention programs and requirements that those be attended. If you want to talk about felony domestic violence, then you're going to need a victim who's injured, permanent disfigurement, significant injury causing disability. If the family member was female and pregnant at the time, you're in a felony courtroom with felony charges. Or if the battery involved strangulation. Specific statutes were implemented to handle these types of cases, and that puts you in a felony courtroom. Felony offenses are drastically more severe than misdemeanor offenses from an exposure standpoint, from a potential sentencing standpoint, and adversarial process, because the prosecutors handling felony crimes are more skilled than the younger ones handling misdemeanors in most cases.